Let's get started. First thing we need to know, remember parentheses is always the first thing we do, but sometimes you might not see a parentheses, or you might see other things that look like parentheses, but they're not really called parentheses. Okay, so just be aware of this, right? When the first step to do is to do parentheses, right? Brackets and braces are a type of grouping symbol, just like parentheses. So you're going to do these first. Okay, so sometimes, right, you could have a parentheses inside of a parentheses. Okay, so you see, you have this -3 plus 12, right, inside of another set of parentheses in yellow there, okay? So how you solve this is you start with the most innermost, the one that's inside, right? You go from the inside, then you work your way out of the grouping symbols, okay? You might see brackets, they're these square type shaped grouping symbols. So here's a parentheses, two sets of parentheses inside of brackets. So you can see I have -3 times 13, that's a set of parentheses. Also have 4 times 3 in a parentheses, and both of these parentheses are inside brackets. Okay, so we start from the inside, these two, and then we work our way out. All right, and then sometimes you might see braces, right? They're kind of like squiggly brackets. So you might see parentheses inside of brackets inside of braces. So again, we have two parentheses inside of the brackets, right? And then we have braces as well. So the bracket is inside of the brace. So we have to work our way on the inside, do the parentheses, then the brackets, and then the braces, and then we'll be okay. Let's look at some examples with this. All right, so I added something, right? Instead of just parentheses, it's also grouping symbols, so brackets and braces, okay? We're going to start with the innermost grouping. Innermost, what's the most inside, okay? Kind of like pretend you were just outside here, and this is kind of a cave. You jump into the cave. This is the one section of the cave, the yellow section, but the most inside section would be this red section, okay? So that's what we're going to solve first. All right, if you want to try this yourself, pause the video, then we'll review. I'm going to keep going now. So the first thing I want to do is I want to start with this parentheses right here, the red one. That's the innermost. Okay, that's the innermost. So -2 plus 7, that would be, and I'm just going to do that in my head kind of, that's 5, and then we got -1. 5 minus 1, so 5 minus 1. This whole parentheses would equal 4. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to be careful, drop everything down. So this parentheses is gone. So I don't have the red one anymore, but I have that yellow one. See, +3, I'm going to wrap that around. I got 12 times 4 now, and that's in a parentheses. Okay, also, while we're at it too, you might see some double signs, right? As I'm dropping this down, I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to change that. A negative and a negative, a double negative like that will be a positive. So instead of minus -6, I'm going to plus 6 and then divide it by 4. Okay, so let's solve our next parentheses. Okay, 12 times 4 plus 3. 12 times 4 plus 3. 12 times 4 is 48. So this is like saying 48 plus 3. 48 plus 3 equals 51 plus 6 divided by 4. Okay, what are we going to do next? Addition or division? Well, what comes first? Division comes next, before addition. Okay, so 6 divided by 4. Okay, so that's going to give you a decimal. So I'll show you a couple things you can do. So if we did 6 divided by 4, right, we're going to get 1.5. So we'll get 1.5, and then we'll add 51 to that. So then the answer is 52.5. Okay. Now, if the question asked for it as a fraction, change that to a fraction, right? 52.5. Or you could rewrite this, right? Put it in a different color. We could say 51 plus 6 over 4, right? We just changed division to a fraction. 6 divided 4, that's like saying 51 plus 3 halves, because I simplified it, divide both of them by 2, and then it's like saying 51 plus 1 and 1 half. Okay, so we got to change that. And so now I have 52 and 1 half. Okay, so if it wants it as a fraction, make sure you change it to a fraction. Once it is decimal, keep it as a decimal. Well, and even if you solve it as a decimal, you can turn this into this pretty quickly, because hopefully we know what 0.5 is 1 half. All right.